that, right?
Well, it depends what you mean by knowledge rather than ignorance. Again, a very general
So,
question.
if we both discuss this subject that you have on your hand,
Yes.
upon ignorance,
Yes.
do you think the discussion will be beneficial?
Well, in order to not be ignorant of the subject, we've got to understand the context and the tafsir of what the Quran is talking about of the surah. Do you agree?
I misunderstood what you said. What I was asking you is this. If the discussion between both of us on the subject that you have here on your clipboard,
I mean, necessarily full of the subject as such, it's just something that when I was reading the Quran I came across it.
yeah, whatever you've got there in your piece of paper, laminated, right?
Laminated piece of paper.
Good.
Yeah, laminated.
If we were to discuss this upon ignorance,
Yes.
the discussion wouldn't be very beneficial. Do you agree?
I would like to have this conversation again with a Christian camera here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Islamic cameras and I know exactly
What happened to your Christian cameraman? Why did he flee?
No idea.
That's not my problem, is it?
What do you mean it's not your problem?
If you want to get
Can
a
you
Christian...
guarantee that nothing's going to be snipped out of these videos?
Look, ask those cameramen whatever you want to request of them. Go on.
And that request isn't necessarily going to be...
No. If you have issues of cameramen doing something, go and ask them.
Do we go and ask?
They're here, waiting for you to...
Could you, to them, because they're most likely not going to
Why
listen
am I
me
going
because
to? Why am I going to ask cameramen? They're just the ones recording Speakerscorner.
Yes,
right?
they're recording Speakerscorner.
Right. So you are still not sure
What do you mean I'm not sure? I'm not sure.
about the discussion should be proceeding upon
I know
ignorance.
my questions, and you're just going around here, there, ignorance, knowledge. Why can't we just have a discussion and we see where it goes? Why is it not as easy as that?
Does the Quran say that if the Quran had been from any other than God, surely they would find...
Ayah 82, that's exactly what it says.
What does it say?
It says, do not reflect on the Quran that it been from anyone other than Allah, there is certainly found in it many inconsistencies. I accept that, that's what Muslims believe.
Right. So, are there any inconsistencies within the Quran?
According to who?
According to Muslims, no. According to you?
How do you define inconsistency? And how does the surah define inconsistency?
Yeah, sure. And ikhtilafan here in the Quran.
Is that what it is now then?
The Quran is not in English, do you agree?
I agree, but there's linguists who translate it into English. But I trust the linguist translation.
Which translation do you trust? Do you trust Palmer's translation or Arbery's?
Either.
Either? Are you sure? What if I find that between them there's a contradiction in what they
Are
say?
they both Qurans?
Translations.
Translations of the Quran. Yeah. And they both say two different things.
Sometimes they do.
Same message.
Sometimes they do.
Same message.
No, sometimes they do.
Separate messages. Two Qurans, different messages.
Translations are
of the Quran.
only approximations
Right.
of the meaning of the Quran as much as they're able to express in the languages they're translating.
Right.
And it demonstrates also the ability they have in translating the language they're translating from, Arabic. Right. Not all translators have of the same capacity and capability.
Meaning that, okay, so the translators I trust are the ones that have had a certified degree in linguistics.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. So which one is that?
I was reading which one is that.
Which translation is that?
Any translation which has a debatably good level of linguistical ability,
Fine.
that understands Arabic very well, that understands the other language very well,
Okay.
and that is able to translate between the two.
So the translation by Muhammad Sarwar.
Right. And who
Does
is
it
he?
put-
What has he done? Who is he? Is he a doctor?
I'm asking you,
Right.
do you know whether he is fulfilling the criteria that you
One, I
have?
don't know who he is. Two, I don't know where he studied. And three, could you tell me a little bit about him?
Fair enough. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Very good.
So which translations have you looked at and you consider them to be acceptable?
So I went on to sunnah.com, which is an Islamic website where I got this hadith, where I got, which one is it? Sahih Muslim.
Remember, we are talking about the Quran
And
translation,
from the
right?
Quran, and from the Quran, I went
So-
on to an Islamic source.
So which translations of the Quran do you think is acceptable?
Do you know what I think is acceptable? I don't care what's acceptable to me, what's acceptable to you. I'm not a Muslim. I don't go by the Quran, I go by my own scriptures.
So any translation of the Quran is acceptable to you?
What do you mean to me? I'm not a Muslim.
So what you have here, is that a translation or the Arabic?
That's a translation of the Arabic.
Right. Is that acceptable to you?
Is this acceptable to me?
Why?
Yes, it isn't acceptable to
No,
me.
why is it acceptable to
Why
you?
is it acceptable to me? It's acceptable to me because I went round to separate different Muslims, asked them to look this up on their devices to see if it matches exactly what they say on their own Qurans, and they say yes.
No, I want to understand, you have a translation in
I
your
have a
hand,
translation of the Quran,
and you consider it to be acceptable.
and I consider it to be
Is
acceptable.
this translator
Yes.
someone who has a degree in the language?
Well, I trust Tafsir Ibn Abbas. I trust Ibn Abbas in order to get the Tafsir of the Surah. Yes.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Then what are you asking me?
I'm asking you,
Yes.
the translation that you are using,
Yes.
by who is it first of all?
But who is it first of all? No idea.
No idea. Okay, fair enough.
But
So
which is why I ask every single Muslim.
Listen.
Sorry, which is why I ask every single Muslim to check this up on their Quran and their devices to
Sure.
see if it matches up.
Right.
And they will say themselves.
Very good.
Not they accept it.
Remember what you said.
Yes.
Any translation
Yes.
has to be done by a linguist.
Yes, a linguist.
And now you have a translation
I have a translation.
which is laminated,
Yes.
and you have no idea who translation is done by.
Well, to me, I don't know who it's done by. Would you like me to search up who it's done by?
No, the translation that you have here
I
laminated,
have here, yes.
I ask you again, who is it by?
Would you like me to search up who it's by?
No.
I've got the source on here.
You've already laminated it.
I've laminated it, yes.
Yeah, who is it by?
And if you ask me this question, I can go on here.
Go ahead, go ahead, yeah.
So you'd like to know the name of the linguist?
Because I want to use the one that is acceptable to you, not only to me.
To me, do all linguists have the same message in each surah?
Sorry?
Does every single linguist in each surah have put down the exact same message as all the other Qurans? In the exact
I don't understand your
So
question.
this is from Dr. Mustafa Katab.
Dr. Mustafa Katab, okay? Is that from the clear Quran?
This is from the Quran.
Yeah, it's a very good translation.
Very good translation.
Right. So now, tell me,
If you want, it's also in Arabic. If you want.
that's fine. So now tell me, in the Quran,
In the Quran,
using that translation that you are happy with, do you find inconsistencies within the
why
Quranic?
are you asking me the questions? Why can't I be asking you the questions?
Okay, ask me the question.
Okay. So, in Surah 6:14,
Let me get this out.
would you like me to read it out for you?
No, you don't have to.
Says, shall I take for my protector any other than Allah, the maker of the heavens and the earth? And he is that feedeth but is not fed. Say nay. Listen to this bit very carefully. But I am commanded to be the first of those who bow down to Allah in Islam. So submission to Allah. First Muslim. Do you agree? According to Tafsir
So-
Ibn Abbas, that's exactly what it is.
So-
submission to Allah. Bow down to Allah in
So
submission.
this surah
Yes.
you've just read,
Yes.
does it contradict with anything else within the Quran?
Within the Quran, no.
Right.
That is not
So,
my claim.
so the Quran claims that if people reflected on the Quran deeply, with care, they would find that it doesn't have any contradictions or discrepancies.
Disputing that the Quran has contradictions.
Right. So let's talk about something else then.
What
So-
would you like to discuss? Because I've got my questions here, and I would like to compare it.
So since this subject is not about contradictions in the Quran, which you agree, the Quran is free from contradictions.
I never admitted that it's free from contradictions. I've just not yet found a contradiction.
Fair enough.
If I was to go on to
No,
Dr. David Wood's
that's fine.
17 Apologetics, I'm sure he would have gladly found a contradiction.
But you haven't found any. That's fine.
Personally, I haven't, because I've not actually looked for the contradiction.
No problem. No problem.
I've just looked
So
at this verse
until
and I found
then,
a contradiction with one of your, what you call authentic hadiths.
so hang on. The Quran doesn't say it is free from contradictions against the history, against this narration,
So
that
why is
narration.
it called sahih? Why is it called
Wait,
authentic if it's contradicting?
Firstly,
That's my question to you.
firstly, a Sahih hadith
Yes,
would not contradict Quran.
not.
It would not. That's the principle.
because it's not daif, right? It's not weak.
In principle, a Sahih hadith would not contradict the
In
Quran.
principle, as
Yes.
in what? Could you elaborate?
That's what we were discussing earlier. We need to understand the principles. Because a Sahih hadith would not in principle contradict the Quran. Because otherwise, it is saying something which goes against the Quran.
So do you accept there may be something in the Sunnah, in the Hadith, which may contradict the Quran?
There may be many statements attributed to the Prophet.
Yes.
In a number of collections,
Right.
which may go against the Quran.
Which may go against
And
the Quran.
if it does, then we know that this cannot be Sahih.
So then it won't be Sahih.
Yeah.
But you believe that Sahih Muslim is definitely an authentic Hadith.
Firstly,
Definitely, 100%.
firstly,
Or are you following blindly your ulama?
Firstly, let's understand one thing. Collections of statements of the Prophet
Right.
is to understand what he said and what he did, right?
That's the Sunnah, yes, I understand that.
Right.
I'm not completely ignorant.
What is the prime or the most core message of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in his narrations?
What do you mean his core message? That Allah is one God.
Allah says in the Quran,
Allah is one God, and
Belief in Allah, that He's the final prophet. What is it, the Shahada?
the core message is Allah is one God.
Yeah, what is it, the belief in all the messengers,
among the dead.
the six pillars of
Wake
faith.
up in the morning.
Belief in Allah, belief in the angels,
And if you stay alive,
fulfill them. قال إن-
belief in the messengers,
Yeah?
don't think of the morning.
belief in the books, the Quran, the Injil.
Okay.
Save from your health.
They're the six pillars of faith.
Right.
Very basic Islam.
Do you disagree with them?
Do I disagree in the point of view of a Muslim?
No.
And from
You,
your leisure.
as a person.
To your occupation.
Me as what?
As a person, as a
Do I
person.
disagree with what?
To your death.
Do you disagree with these teaching of Prophet Muhammad
Do I disagree?
sallallahu alayhi wasallam?
Indeed. You do not know what you will be called.
Yes, I disagree with the teachers of Muhammad.
Can we move away from here because the brother is speaking, so we can go to one side?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's your name? So you're Hashim, right?
I'm Mansur. That's no problem. Because we don't usually go about telling our names, right?
Well, personally, I don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
You may not,
Look,
but
look.
personally, I don't.
I didn't say you're obliged to tell your name. I only asked if you don't want to give your name, no problem.
Yeah, no, I've
Either
not
way.
any disagreement with that. I just asked
No.
what your name was, and you said it was Hashim.
Mansur.
Mansur. Apologies again.
No problem. So,
Thank you for the respect. I've had a couple of debates around here earlier on, and I did not get the same respect you're giving to me, so I do appreciate that.
no problem. I just hope the people who are discussing with you, they should really, get it more elevated into their character a bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
The enthusiasm, the character, exactly. I'm glad you've kind of understood the way that you give your dawah to people. Very good.
Thank you.
I wish Christians could learn a thing or two from you.
Thank you. Do you fundamentally agree with the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Okay. Which ones in particular that you
Which
disagree?
ones don't I agree with?
Yeah.
Well, the teachings also being what he's done and that he didn't go against.
So when you say done, this is actions. But in terms
Actions,
of his
correct.
teachings, let's talk about the teachings and we can talk about the actions.
The actions, right.
What-
Do I agree with his teachings?
Yeah.
Do you mean the core teachings or all of his teachings?
No. We start with the core,
The core teachings.
and then we go into the
Okay, so
the branches.
Okay, let's break it down. Do I believe in Allah? If Allah translates to does Allah include my God in your question?
Allah is the creator of the cosmos.
The cosmos. So in my view, it's a Trinitarian God. So yes, I do believe in the Trinitarian God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Do I believe in the angels? I believe in Angel Jibreel. I believe in all the angels. Yes. Do I believe in what's the other one? All the books? No. I don't believe in the Quran as my authentic source. I'm not obliged to follow the Quran. Do I believe in the Old Testament? Yes, but I'm not obliged to follow the Old Testament, and I don't eat shrimp, etc. I think you've heard this argument before. I believe Jesus completed, or shall I say fulfilled, the Old Covenant into the New Covenant. So yes, I accept the New Testament, I accept the Old Testament. I don't accept the Quran. I accept the angels, I accept gods.
Do you believe in hereafter?
I believe in the hereafter, so in your eyes it's Jannah and Jahannam, heaven
Heaven and hell. Do you believe in heaven and hell?
I believe in heaven and hell, yes, according to my scriptures.
Okay. So when the Quran says God is one and only without any son or
We're not
children.
going into a Trinitarian debate, are we?
No. Core message of Islam. When it says there is no God worthy of worship except Allah,
Right?
and the Quran describes Allah is without a son,
Without a
father, without any progeny, without any lineage, without any parents or forefathers, whatever it might be. So this is what the Quran describes, and the Prophet explains this.
Yep. And you believe Isa, or shall I say Jesus Isa, is only a prophet, a messenger of Allah. He is not God himself.
Yeah.
Us Christians, I think you've heard before, believes he's the full revelation and manifestation of the invisible Father. He's claimed many times that he was according to Christians. We're not getting into Trinitarian debate, but you said what you believe. I'm not going to say what I believe. Of.
So the disagreement seems to be the issues which clashes with your belief.
Which clashes in my beliefs, absolutely.
Okay, fine. So when you go back to the religion of Abraham and Moses, for example.
And Moses and Musa.
Right, yeah.
Ibrahim and Musa.
Abraham and Musa, alayhi salam, peace be upon them, right? Alayhi salam. Do you believe their teaching about God is similar to yours or similar to the Muslims?
Yes, because Jesus did say before Abraham was, I am. So in other words, Jesus is claiming to be God. Even, what's the question again, sorry?
Do you believe the teachings about God by the Prophet Abraham and Moses is similar to what you believe as Christian or what Muslims believe in?
Definitely what I believe in.
Okay. So did you find a teaching within the teachings of Moses and Abraham where he describes God to be a Trinitarian God?
Oh, we're getting into the Trinity.
No, you don't have to go. No, you don't have to go to any arguments for and against.
Is this just for the cameras?
It is simply saying, because when you say teachings about
the
God...
Trinity is the way you describe 3 in 1 and what the Christians believe. It doesn't specifically say Trinity in any of our books. We've heard this discussion time and time again.
It doesn't have to specify the word Trinity, right?
It doesn't, right?
Yeah, conceptually.
Okay.
So, do you find Abraham and Moses, upon them be peace?
Okay, so neither of them talk about the coming of Muhammad. And neither
about God. Start with the concept of God. What are their understandings and teaching of God that they told their people to follow?
That God is one.
That's what Muslims say, God is one. So I want to know, does it agree with more with your understanding of God or the Muslim understanding of God?
So what you're trying to do is say that, because you believe in Abraham and Moses, and we believe in Abraham and Moses, I'm going to try and make this claim that Abraham and Moses are closer to me. In other words, what you believe in is wrong and what I believe is right. Is that what you're trying to prove?
What we need to understand is, look, the prophets before Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they existed before them, right? In terms of when they came to the people.
Yes.
Moses and Abraham, those prophets.
Correct.
And they were commissioned by God to tell people who God is.
Absolutely.
And they were one of the great and mighty prophets of God.
Yes.
Right. We're just trying to understand from your perspective and the Islamic perspective, what were their teachings about God? About God.
They didn't talk about the Shahada.
No, what were the teachings about God?
The teachings about God.
Yes. You said they believed and told people about one God.
Yes.
Right.
And Christians believe there's one God.
Sure. But the oneness of God in Christianity and God
Why are we always getting on the Trinitarian debate?
No.
Am I ever going to be able to ask you these questions like you interrupted me over there?
Remember.
Or are we going to go around the same things,
the hadith,
like you do with everyone else?
The hadith of the Prophet, or the statement of the Prophet, centralizes...
Which hadith?
No. I'm going to the core hadith. Core.
Including?
The core hadiths of the Prophet.
Ones?
I'm about to tell you. The core hadiths are the ones which are fundamentals to to accept to become a Muslim.
And Shias will disagree. Oh, no, Shias will agree with you, but they take different hadiths as their core.
I don't have any Shia here to agree or disagree with them, so there's no point bringing Shia in here. It's unfair to bring Shia in when we don't have any Shia person to defend their views.
Okay, but you're both being Muslim. You're saying as a Muslim you believe the core principles, but you believe in different core principles.
Core things, teachings, one must believe to even call themselves, label themselves as a Muslim.
Yes.
Right. So this teaching, I am saying, doesn't contradict, cannot and should not and would not contradict the Quran.
Right.
Now, is this teaching in any way different from the teaching that God is one and only, worthy of worship?
Yes.
Yep. And none else is worthy of worship.
Oh, that would be shirk, right, in your religion?
Shirk is associating a partner with God.
Yeah, so more than one.
It's not more than one. You can associate. You can associate a tree with God and say, "I worship the tree as well." You make the tree as a partner to God.
Right.
But it doesn't make that tree to be God, right?
Right.
And it's not God's son or daughter.
Right.
So it's an association.
But Jesus said, "Honor me as you honor the Father." In other words, he's putting himself on the same level as God.
So,
because he is God.
So the idea of God and the concept of God, according to Abraham and Moses, let's understand a bit more about them. Right. So go ahead. So you mentioned about one God.
I did.
And what else do they talk about this one God?
Do you mean what else to talk about this one God? Who? Abraham and Moses?
Yeah.
You tell me.
I mean, I can tell you that they don't say that God is in any way another God before him, another God after him.
Right.
And
the Alpha, the Bible clears this. Just could you explain your religion? I'm not going to explain my religion along with what you're saying is the standard. We believe Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the last. In other words, none after him and none before him.
Okay. So is there someone along with Jesus?
No.
So Jesus is the only God.
What do you mean the only God?
If you have Jesus, the Alpha and the Omega,
Yes.
remember.
Or is this going to be a Trinitarian debate?
No.
Just trying to know how to.
No. Every time we want to understand the concept of God,
I understand the concept.
you're just trying to somehow stop from going into a Trinitarian
I'm
debate.
not stopping anything.
Right.
I'm just asking.
We don't want to go into a Trinitarian debate if you don't want to.
You don't want to?
Right.
I'm not saying I don't want to. I'm just asking
right.
if you.
So I'm simply saying the concept of God.
Right.
If God is one,
Yes.
you can call him his 3 in 1, 5 in 2, and 20 in million, whatever, right?
Right.
According to what God has said to his prophets.
Yes.
So according to what God has revealed to his prophet Moses and Abraham,
Yeah.
did he reveal that he is one person or more than one person?
He doesn't. They don't specifically have to say something in order for it to be true later on.
Of course, God has
God
conveyed the message about his
Yes.
oneness because it's quite clear. When, like, for example, in Isaiah,
Which is why I then got to look at prophecies in the Old
in
Testament.
Isaiah, it says like this: before me there was no God form,
Yes.
after me there will be no God form.
Yes.
I alone am God and there is none else.
None else.
Right. This is a God that is described about being how many? One.
Yes.
Right.
One God.
If someone says, I alone am God and there's
Yes.
none else,
Yes.
who is this I within the understanding that you have?
Dude, who is this I?
Yeah.
Do you want me, what do you mean who? What do you mean who is this I?
Because you believe God is we, right? And us.
We and us. There are three distinct personas in one divine essence. What is there not to understand? They do not share. They don't. It's not like 25% God here, 25% God here, or any other fraction. It's 100% God, 100% God, 100% God. They're all God. Three in one. Not three gods. There's one God.
So if one of them said, I alone am God and there's none
If
else.
there's one of them. You can have three. Let me bring in an analogy.